It's Anthony Meisner with Land Title. I came to bring you your first to know update for Greater Metro Denver. If we dive right into what we got from April, and we can really see we're kind of trending along with where we were a year ago, but prices have slipped off the peak just a hair, and we still haven't reached those peak 2022 prices. So it is interesting to watch, but we're still right around $800,000 average sales price, only 1.7% decrease. And the median actually was nearly the same as what it was a year ago, 0.1% drop. If we look at it by condo townhouse, though, this tells a very different story. We're feeling some downward pressure in the condo townhouse market. Minus 6%, average sales price year over year down to 441. That could be slightly concerning, but in times of tough markets, the attached market always seems to favor differently than the detached market. We're really feeling it again here. So median, same thing, right? Tells the same story, 6.6% decrease in median sales price for townhouse and condo. Now, if we look by average price per square foot, single family homes right in line with where we were a year ago, 0.3% drop, $1, right? So take it with a grain of salt, fine. Everything is similar. In the condo townhouse market, you're feeling that 6% drop, 5.7% on the price per square foot. So that's a real, true, felt drop in condo townhouse pricing. So you can definitely share that with buyers and sellers. It is something to kind of pay attention to, keep an eye on. Lots of inventory does create that downward pressure in the marketplace. So as inventory rises, we're going to continue to feel this type of a market. The biggest thing to watch, though, the one thing to articulate already is we're at 11,256 units on the market. This is already higher than the peak of the market was a year ago. That's a 56 or 58% rise in inventory year over year. When we have so many new listings coming to market, right? 19% more than last year. We have more listings coming to market than we did in 22. That's a lot of listings, right? So you have tons of sellers coming back to market, and buyers might be out in force, but they are not nearly as much out as the sellers are. So that's going to lead to seasonal changes, right? We're in a shifting market. You're going to feel the rising tide of inventory. So as a seller, get your home on early, right? Because you want less competition. And as a buyer, you can see that the peak of the buyer season does appear to already have peaked. Now, that could change with interest rate changes or something else. But as of right now, super strong buyer behavior early on, right? We've outpaced the last 2 years. That's a great sign. But 4,300 under contracts is very different than 6,700 new listings. So 5% rise in under contracts, great sign for the market, right? We have a better market this year from buyer perspective, right? Buyers are out in force. Sellers are just flooding the market right now. And so we have 3.2 months of inventory. Same thing, more than the peak of the market last year. So expect a rise. We are moving into a balanced market, right? As a whole, for the entire Denver metro area, 50% change in month supply of inventory is a very dynamic change in the marketplace compared to where we were a year ago. Now, how does this feel for homeowners, right? I think that's kind of what this slide really talks about. Market activity it tells you it takes 36 days to go under contract at this time, right? It should trend down a couple of more months and before it trends up, but it's 20% different than it was a year ago, but it's only 6 days. So keep in mind, 6 days more is not that much. We're just over a month. A lot of the submarkets are way higher, right? Colorado average is over 60. So Denver Metro is still moving very rapidly, and we still only have about 3 months of inventory, so it's not extreme. But the close of list price, 99.3%. It's off 0.4% from this time a year ago. So sellers are not favoring quite as well as they did last year, but it is selling fast. There's still a lot of activity. I think there's some positives in this marketplace. Now, if you look at it by showing traffic, this tells the story as well. More inventory means less showings per listing. So showings per listing are down to 5.8. That's almost a 20% drop from this time last year. It's a tougher market out there as a seller, right? And the average showings to pending are 13.2. So it's going to take, it could take a couple of months to get enough showings to find that buyer. So like I said, list early, put your best foot forward in order to get stuff sold. We're really seeing that take place in the market. I just worry that we're going to have some hesitations later in the year unless we get interest rate changes, right? So as interest rates have stayed pretty stable, it's hard for anyone to really predict a big decline in interest rates as, we really haven't felt the pressure for that. The Fed hasn't been expressing need either. So here we are. This is kind of what we should expect going forward. So watch the seasonal trends. If you need any other local market data or insights, please let me know. This is Anthony at Land Title. Catch you next time.